Hi, this is Dee, and you're listening to my podcast, Let Me Clear Your Throat. In tonight's episode, I want to talk about something that, in my opinion, seems to be, seems to be like the normal of the world, how do I want to put this? Acceptable. Like it's the way of life. And unfortunately, I think it should be everything but that. And that is passing judgment on each other. And taking our opinions and our thoughts and our views of one another, and even ourselves for that matter, and passing judgment on it. And having an opinion about how our appearance should look, how our thoughts should be, how our way of life should be, how our parenting skills should be, our ethics, our morals. The list goes on and on. Our daily just being. Even the way we maintain our homes, the type of vehicles we drive, the way we dress. Society has basically just birthed at conception and molded us and raised us to believe a certain criteria, if you will, of what we are supposed to be, look like, what's acceptable, what's not. And the fact of the matter is it changes with time. It changes with opinion. It changes with a trend. It changes on what's popular. It changes on what catches on. It changes with what is the new style, what's the new saying, what's the new, whatever. What's catchy, what's a catchy tune, what's a catchy saying, what is cute, what is not. It varies, and it changes consistently. And it's got our younger generation growing up being victimized by this trend, as well as us still being susceptible to this way of life as well. And where at in this does the cycle stop? And I was thinking about this earlier. I was watching this skit, and I've watched this different types of scenarios on this same type of programmable thing where they have these different skits, and people are so judgmental, and they just automatically assume a certain persona, if you will, of another person based off of where they live, what their type of job they are, what their skin color is, their job, what type of clothes they wear. The list goes on. It depends on what the storyline is. And today, I was watching it, and the end of each one of them, it comes to find out that, obviously they're wrong, and the person that they basically are judging happens to be the very person that they are needing, or is somebody important that is supposed to be in their life, or whatever the case may be. And today there was a lady who was accusing another lady of stealing her car. And the lady was getting into her car, and she had her keys in her hand, and she had just purchased this car. She still had paper plates on it. And this other lady, and the lady was a black lady, and a white lady came up behind her and snatched her keys out of her hand and accused her of stealing her keys, ripped them out of her purse inside the mall or wherever they were at, and was trying to get in her car and steal her car. And said that there was no way that this woman was capable of affording this expensive car, that there was no way that she could, made that kind of money. She couldn't buy it on her EBT card, and was putting this woman down, and was basing it off of her appearance. And she was going on and on about how she was real, important in the community, and she did a lot of charities and a lot of fundraisers and this, that, and the other, and was putting this other woman down. And she was being real dramatic, and the lady was trying to get her keys back, and she went to go reach for her keys, and then the white lady was being very over dramatic, and and was trying to say that the lady assaulted her and she didn't, and just a big thing. So security comes out there and is trying to figure out what's going on, and the one lady's like, I didn't steal your car. This is my car. You ripped my keys out of my hand. I just purchased this car. And so they called the cops out, and then the white lady's went, I want her arrested, and this, something, the other. So the black lady's like, run the VIN number. Run the VIN number. It's my car. So they run the VIN number, and it was her car. And so security comes back out and says, this is what we found in the lost and found. And they had found a set of car keys in the lost and found. They had identical cars, and her keys were in the lost and found. Somebody had found her car keys. And come to find out, there was a merger or something going on with this white lady's company. And she was talking about, before they had found her keys, she was talking about how she was going to, she was real important or whatever, and da-da-da-da-da. And the lady that had got accused of stealing the keys was telling her that she was going to call the white lady's company and explain to them exactly what had happened. And she was like, well, how do you know where I worked? And I guess they were doing a merger or something. And she explained to her that she was the one that ran the company that was supposed to be merging with them. She was like a billionaire. And she's like, well, you don't dress like a billionaire. And she said, well, I just got done from volunteering at the soup kitchen. And you don't need to dress, it's not about your appearance. I don't need to go and advertise, who I am and what I do and stuff. It's a matter of just being a good person. And so she was going on and on about that. But it just goes to show that people were so quick to judge by appearance, by color, by just by everything. And, there's no way she could have been in a high society, job. There'd no way she could have been a billionaire. There'd be no way she could afford that car. There'd be no way that, she was an uppity person in a big high class, business or whatever. And at the same time, she was trying to, sorry, there's a motorcycle going by. She was trying to explain that she was this and that and the other, when all along they had identical cars. And instead of the lady realizing and maybe taking the time to go to the car and acknowledge that none of her stuff was in the car, for one, or the fact that it had paper plates on it, her car would not have paper plates on it. Her car would have normal plates on it. But nor here nor there. It shouldn't have mattered. Because once she found out, she tried to give that woman money, no hard feelings. Once she had found out that the car was, that was a mistake in the car identity, if you will, she tried to basically pay the woman and, hey, I'm sorry, da 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 da. But that doesn't take away the fact of what she done. And it goes to show that, unfortunately, there are many scenarios that are like that and worse. And it doesn't matter what kind of clothes you wear, or what you drive, what your house looks like, or what job you have, or how big you are, or how small you are, whether you can, how many tattoos you got, how many piercings you got, and I was thinking about this earlier too. I was thinking, people judge so much by their tattoos and their piercing stuff. My daughter was talking to me, I guess this is what kind of got it in my mind. She was talking to me about how my youngest daughter asked her to go get a piercing with her. And I got to thinking, about that and stuff. And, people judge about tattoos and piercings and stuff, and and I've heard people say, oh, you're not supposed to tattoo and pierce yourself, you're not supposed to put holes in your body or mark your body and blah, 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 blah. And I got to, you're not supposed to change your body appearance and this, that, and the other, and I got to thinking, you're not supposed to change your body, you're not supposed to do things to it or alter it or whatever. But we do. And you don't have to put tattoos or piercings to it to alter it. People put makeup on. People put fingernails on. People wear hats. People wear clothes. And then be like, well, that's not something that's permanent. Yes, it is. When do you not go with clothes on? Besides taking a shower or doing something intimate or whatever, changing your clothes, or when you're born, you have clothes on. You just change them. People change earrings. People can change tattoos because they get cover-ups or whatever, but your clothes are permanent. You wear clothes all the time. So, yes, it is. You wear hats, you just change your hat. You wear makeup, you just take your makeup on and put it back on. You know, you might change the color of it, but you wear makeup. You change your nails, but you still wear nails. You have fingernails on there. You just change the color of them. You might wear some nail polish. You might wear some toenail polish. You put lotion on. Lotion is covering your body up. You're covering your body with lotion. You're putting perfume on. You're putting cologne on. You're putting hairspray on. You're putting shampoo and conditioner in your hair. You're putting something on your body. You are covering your body with something. You're putting suntan lotion on. You're putting sunscreen on. You're putting powder on. You're putting sanitizer on. You're putting medicine on. You're putting a Band-Aid on. You're putting whatever on your body. You're covering it in some way. You might even be putting a cast on. You're covering your body. Maybe to some, oh, that's not the same thing. Why? Because you say? You're covering your body in some way. You're doing a change to the appearance of your body. Does it matter if it's an earring or if it's a tattoo or if it's a hair color is maybe a little bit more erotic than what you might like it to be? People are like, oh, well, your body is a temple. Your body is a miracle. Your body is a miracle. It is a masterpiece. It is a canvas of a beautiful person that has the right and entitlement to not be judged by the expression of how they portray themselves and how they reflect their inner being on how they want to reflect their outer being. And we, as society, have no right and no justification, if you will, to say whether it's right or wrong that they do so. Because if you do, you're a hypocrite. Plain and simple. Because in some way, shape, or form, you have done something different to your body. You might just not look at it that way. You put soap on your body in the shower. You put deodorant on. You covered your body with deodorant. When you are born, you're not born with clothes on. You are processed and programmed as you grow up to put clothes on. When you are born, the first thing they do, beyond your control, is to put clothes on you. So you grow up thinking, oh, I need to put clothes on. You're born naked. Society has told and programmed everybody, and I say society because everybody in a whole, as a group, as the world, if you will, that's life. You need to cover your body because it is sinful to show your body, because it is sexual to show your body. It is erotic to show your body because we have made it that way. A woman, her body was made for a reason, for reproduction. So was a male's. Now, women have to cover up because society says so. Guys can walk around with no shirts on. They can do whatever they want. It could be 150 degrees outside, and a guy could wear on a pair of shorts, and that's it. And it's acceptable. Don't matter what size they are, what they look like, nothing. They can just have on a pair of shorts. It don't matter. They can have on a bikini underwear and it'd be acceptable, which basically is just underwear. They just call it swimsuit. But it's basically underwear, just with a different name. And it's acceptable. Now, a woman, she has to be covered. If not, it's indecent exposure. In all due respect, and I mean nothing, please do not take offense to this. If this pertains to you, I mean nothing offensive. But there are males out there that have bigger boobs than me. And they don't have to wear a shirt. But if I don't wear a shirt, it's indecent exposure. Or assault, deadly weapon. It depends on how you want to look at it. But it's illegal. Depends where you live. Because in some cultures, they don't look at it that way. It's a way to feed your child. And that's what it's supposed to be for. And then people shun women for feeding their child in public. You eat in public. Are we supposed to drape a cloth over you and tell you, cover up, you're eating? I don't like the way you eat. You need to put a covering cloth over you. I don't want to look at you when you're eating. But you expect a woman to cover up while she's trying to feed her child. Why? Because you make her feeding her child sexual or erotic? Why don't you call it what it is? A miracle sitting there, a woman beautifully feeding her child. And if she wasn't feeding her child, let's say she wasn't feeding her child, and her child was just sitting there with no food at all, while her mom just sat there and ate and ate and ate right in front of her child, then what are you going to do? You're going to bitch that she's starving her child to death. And she's being neglectful. So what, I mean, let's judge some more. Who the hell are you? People are so quick to judge things, and you have no right. You do not have that power. And maybe even if you don't believe in God, which that is your prerogative and on you, it still doesn't give you the right to judge anybody. Because by no means at all are you a total 100% purity. Because I guarantee, if you want to get real technical about it, you're tainted too. If we're going to sit here and split hairs. Now, is that right to say? No, because that's not me. To me, that'd be mean to say. I would never look at somebody and say, you're tainted. No. I might say you're tinted if you got paint on you. Hey, you're a little tinted right now. You got a little bit of paint on you, But no. I would never do that. Because that's not who I am. I have been through a lot in my life. And I have lost a lot. I have been poor. I still am poor. If you want to sit here and count money. If you want to count material. But with me and my heart and my morals and my respect for others and my kindness and my generosity and my appreciation and my understanding and my compassion and my love and all of that stuff, I am very, very, very blessed. And I am not sorry for that. I have been You know, I have watched people, and I have listened to people be so judgmental on people that are sick, that are poor, that are homeless, that are handicapped, that are different than them, I should say. They might not have the answers to certain questions. They might not be as educated. They might not be as bougie, if you will. And they judge them, and they don't even know their story. People see homeless people, and they automatically want to say that they choose to be homeless. Now, some people do. I will give you that. Some do. But at the same time, too, that's not always the case. And before you judge a homeless person, don't. Because like I've said before in my other podcast, we are all one moment away from being homeless. And you know, it's like I heard that, I don't know, they were supposed to crack down on the homeless people or something, and I don't know, arrest people for being homeless or this, that, and the other, and I don't know. It might be true, it might not be true, because nowadays, you know, it's whatever. This is my thing. There are so many more people homeless right now in the United States, and I'm just going to narrow it to the United States right now. There are more people homeless in the United States this year in endless, countless numbers than what anybody probably could even understand right now. And it isn't because they choose to be. It isn't because they weren't paying their bills. It wasn't because they lost their job. It wasn't because they were irresponsible. It wasn't because they were an alcoholic or a druggie. It wasn't because they had a gambling problem. It wasn't because they had some form of whatever, and you know, and they just, you know, didn't care, so they ended up homeless and, you know, whatever. No, you know why? Because a catastrophe of Mother Nature happened. It was either a fire or an earthquake or a tornado or a hurricane or an ice storm or flooding. And they lost their lives, their homes, their futures, their jobs, their whole world, their family members, body parts, vehicles, transportation, their children, their spouses, their parents, their siblings, their grandparents. The list goes on and on and on. And now they're homeless and they're misplaced. They have nowhere to go. Now, should we arrest all of them because they're homeless? Are they all alcoholics and druggies because they're homeless? Do they choose to be homeless? Did they choose for that tornado and that flood to come through, or that fire to come and sweep? Should we say all them famous people that lost their homes in the fires in California, they chose that, and they're okay? Even though they've got money, they still lost their homes. Some of them, those were their private homes, and it doesn't matter here nor there if they got money or not. They're still human beings that lost their homes. And because they lost their homes, then they're homeless and they're misplaced. Then they're homeless. But because they might have some money that you want to say they have, but you don't know what they got. Because technology nowadays is taking everything away from everybody. But they chose that, right? They chose that fire to happen. They chose to lose their whole life. They chose to have their whole life and all their memories, their childhood memories, their kids' memories. They chose all that to happen so they could be homeless. They thought, oh man, I hope that fire blows this way so we can lose our livelihood, and I just want to be homeless. Or Florida, or all the places that are the Carolinas and all those places that got hit by the hurricanes, and all the other places, and the floods, and all, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ohio, and all them, and all the other places, or Michigan, and all those that had the ice storms and stuff, and all the other places. And I don't know them all because there's so many of them. I mean, is that accurate to say? No, when the tornadoes were out, you know what I was doing? I was praying to God that it wasn't coming my way. Praying hard. I was having a panic attack. I've been homeless. I've lived in my van. For about 2.5 years, I lived in my van. Was it chosen? Did I choose to? Fuck no, I didn't. Excuse my French, but no, I didn't. I had my life together. I had a home. I had my belongings. I had a job. I had my livelihood going. I got 3 college degrees with a 4.0 and 3 honors. Is that bragging? No, that's an accomplishment for me. I was a scientist. I used to clean crime scenes for a living. I had my life together. I had a tragedy in my life happen. And I fell apart. I got the scars inside and outside my body to prove it. But I shouldn't have to prove it. I've come a long way. And if you listen to my podcast, I am very open and candid about it. Did I choose to be homeless? No, I didn't. Contrary to what some people may think. Oh, don't enable her. Don't enable me. I'm living in my van on the side of the street in a Walmart parking lot and a hospital parking lot and a pull-off and somebody's driveway, a friend's driveway or my parents' driveway once a week because I wasn't allowed to stay at their house at the time. Or anywhere I can find to lay my head down that, that was safe. Don't enable me, help me. You think I enjoyed that? No, I didn't. There'd be times that I would be parked at the truck stop, and it was February, and it was like so snowy outside. It was like really bad snow. And my vehicle wouldn't start. For 3 days it wouldn't start. I lived in my van in the truck stop parking lot. 3 days it wouldn't start. And it was cold out there. Not one person checked on me. Not one. Luckily, I had somebody with me. But nobody came to check on us. In fact, it was just the opposite. They were mad and upset because they couldn't get a hold of me. Well, I didn't have a phone. I didn't have money to put minutes on my phone. I'm sorry. I'm homeless. Going to blessing boxes to try to find food to eat. Trying to find some way to, eat and survive life. Did I choose that? No. And now I have a camper. I have a 27-foot camper I bought off of a guy that was a fireman and his wife to start my life over. He let me pay it on payments. I paid $600 for it. And that's because it was just sitting around and he wasn't using it. I have it parked at my mom's house, but now I take care of my mom. My dad passed away, and I take care of my mom 24/7. My mom is in very bad health. Does that make me a bad person? Say if I chose to live in my camper, would I still be deemed homeless? Or that I'm, should I be ashamed? Oh, you live in a camper. Should I be ashamed? Because, if I lived in a camper, say if I didn't sit here and take care of my mom and I lived in a camper, should I be ashamed? No. It's my home. It might not be the nice house I had before, but that's just it. It was a house. And I learned that. My van, to some people, might have just been a van. Oh, you're homeless. You live in your van. I was homeless, helping the homeless. I always said I was the bougie part of homeless because I had shelter and I was mobile. It could have been so much worse. Because even though I was out at the truck stop and my van wouldn't start, and it was really cold and wintry outside and it was cold, I had shelter. I was inside my van, cuddled up in my blankets, and I was warm inside my vehicle, sheltered from the elements outside. It could have been worse. And I know that. You are one moment from being different. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. But it's not for me to decide that. And sometimes it's not even in your control. But nor here nor there, that doesn't make you a bad person. That makes you a human being. That's what life is. Life is the one thing in the world that you don't get to study for. There's no right or wrong answer, even though you're supposed to know right from wrong. Even if sometimes you don't even know what it is, but you're expected to know. But it depends on how you're taught and what you are taught to know. Or depends on what neighborhood you grew up in. Because sometimes it's not a matter of right or wrong, it's a matter of survival. Doesn't make it a bad person. Does it? That's not for me to decide. If it makes me uncomfortable, or if it bothers me, or if I'm not I still can make the choice. Well, let me rephrase that. Because sometimes you can't always make a choice. Even though you can, you can't. And maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe I can elaborate on that. Because I always say you always have a choice. And unfortunately in life you do. You always do have a choice. But I don't try to entertain that choice anymore. I don't entertain that choice anymore. Let me put it that way. Because that's not a darkness I go down. You shouldn't judge somebody by their color, by their job, by their ethics, by their religion, by the way they talk, by their education, by anything. They're a human being. I watched this other skit today, And it was this girl who was trying out for this modeling thing. And to me, she was thin, okay? And these girls were making fun of her, saying that she was fat and she needed to lose more weight. So she was starving herself. And she got really, really thin, and she passed out. She was very malnourished, very dehydrated, and she passed out. And so she decided to go off of the modeling team, or out of the modeling business or whatever. Then she decided to lose weight or whatever to build her, because she lost her muscle mass. So she started lifting weights and going to the gym. Now, this is where it get kind of funny, because it was funny, but it wasn't funny. When you go to the gym, you know, you go there to get tone, lose weight, build your muscle mass, you know, whatever, get fit, get healthy, and a variety of different reasons. So she was going there to try to build her muscle mass and get, you know, more healthier. So she's there, and she's doing her workout and stuff, and these girls were there, and they were lifting weights. And so they were looking at her, and sorry, I was climbing up on my bed. They were looking at her, and they were making fun of her, because they were saying that she was too thin. The girl was too little. And they were telling her that she probably couldn't even lift the weights that they were lifting. And so she went over to try to lift them. And she couldn't budge it. And then so she took some of the weight off of it and tried to do it. And she still couldn't do it. And they were laughing at her. And she went home, and she started crying. And her mom's like, you know, what's going on? She's like, I go into the modeling thing, and they tell me I'm too fat. I lose weight. I go to the gym, and they tell me I'm too thin, and I'm too skinny. You know, like, she just couldn't please any, you know, she just couldn't get it right. And that's what's wrong with it, because that's what's wrong. We should not have to starve ourselves to be acceptable. We should not have to sit here and eat too much to plump up to be acceptable. I saw this one thing that went across one of my feeds, and this lady was doing this where she made money doing some kind of, I don't know what it was, some video thing she did, and she would get paid. People would pay her to watch her eat. It was some kind of fetish thing. And she was like 600 or 700 pounds. She was very unhealthy. And people paid to watch her eat, and so she did. And she got so unhealthy. And I thought to myself, how is that okay for other people to want to do that to her? How can they be so selfish to her? To where it was to the point where it was killing her. Only thing they were considering and thinking of was themselves. And they didn't care what it was doing to her. And they thought it was okay. They wanted more. And we are programmed. I feel like we are programmed to program each other, intentionally or not, to keep the cycle going. And keep up with the latest trends. Keep up with the latest fashion, the latest storyline, the latest video. What's the latest on TikTok? What's the latest on Facebook? What's the latest on Instagram? What's the latest on whatever? The latest video game or whatever it is. Well, I don't know what was wrong with the last one. What's wrong with one 20 years ago? What was wrong with one before that? What was wrong with one something else before any of that even came out? What is wrong with, I'm going to say this, old school? You know, we got generations and generations and generations before us that have done things, have accomplished things, have invented things, and have built the foundation of family morals and respect when a man's word, and I'm going to say man as a whole, man's word was solid. His word was his word. You didn't need his signature, you had his word. Now somebody's signature isn't, I don't care if it's a legal document or not. Just choose what color font you want, and it could be placed anywhere. And I know that for a fact. I signed a document the other day, and I signed it to go in one spot. And they filled it in every spot they wanted it in. Even when it said, they put it in a spot that said something like, I approved the delivery of the item, and it was in great condition. I haven't even received that item yet. How can I approve the item in great condition when I haven't even got it yet? And I called and I've told them that. How are you gonna put my signature somewhere I didn't even sign? Because I have the original document that I signed, and I only signed it in one spot, and it was not there. And how can I say that I got it in great shape and there was no issues with it when I don't even have it yet? And you sent it to me the day after I signed my part of the contract. And to this day, I'm still waiting for it to be delivered. And she said, well, I can remove it from there. You think? Thank you for that. Because it shouldn't even been placed there. That's what I'm saying. And it's supposed to be a legal binding document. It's not even worth the signature because it's a computer. It's computer generated signature. They say here, sign here, and half the time you can't even tell it's even your name because it's deformed. That's not my signature. I don't know who came and wrote that. It looks like somebody just came in and scribbled because it's so disoriented on that screen. Even if you did know how to sign your name on a keypad thing or whatever, I don't know what the hell that says. That ain't my natural signature. And that's... My signature is not valid. We're all just a bunch of numbers. We're just all generated in the computer. Our pictures are generated however they want to be generated. Everything is just a facade. And we're supposed to look as such. Paint me up now. Make me look how you want. If you don't like me, just adjust me and Photoshop me. Contour here. If that's the case, can you take a few inches off of one part of me and add it onto another and give me a little bit more height? I mean, because society says I'm short and I got a little bit, I got some in my trunk and, I don't know. My left leg's longer than my right leg. No. Lay me the way I am. Because if I'm going to change me, it's because I'm going to change me. Because if I change myself because somebody else says I need to change myself for somebody else, then what's the point of me taking the time to try to heal myself now? Because that's been my problem my whole life. And that's what I'm trying to overcome. That is the damage that I am trying to heal from. So if I need to sit here and paint myself to be what everybody expects me to be, I might as well just go back in time and just say, hell with it. Erase all of my podcasts and just go back to the way I was. But I'm not going there. Because I am not that reflection anymore. I am healing. I am developing better. And I am learning. I am teaching myself. I'm accepting myself. Trying to learn how to accept myself more. I'm reminding myself that I am human. I make mistakes. And it's okay to sit down. As long as I remember to get back up. It's okay to not be okay. But it's okay to not be ashamed to compliment yourself. It's okay to not be ashamed to tell yourself you're pretty, you're smart, you're a good person, you're worth loving, you're worthy. All the good affirmations that you deserve. And take away all the self-harm that you've done to yourself. All the heartache and reflections and the self-judgment that you've done to yourself. They say thou shalt not judge. You judge yourself every single day. You judge yourself every day. We need to learn, my opinion. We need to learn that it's okay to be different. We got different kinds of trees. Different kinds of flowers, different kinds of birds, different kinds of butterflies, different kinds of bees, different kinds of bugs, different kinds of snakes, different kinds of cars, different kinds of, well, cars is not the, we do have different types of cars. Let's see, different types of grass. We have different kinds of, types of body of water. We have different types of sand. Different types of weather. We have different types of the color of the sky, different types of color of the ground, different types of color of mud, different types of time of day. The world is different, even when it's the same time of moment. We have different times, or different people, different colors, different nationalities, different opinions, different points of views, different hair colors, different eyes, different heights, different sizes. The list goes on and on. We're different. The world was made to be different. We were made to be different. But we were all made. Even the animals are different. We were all made for the same reason. To give life to the world. But we have to remember that we need to stop being selfish and think that we own the world. Because we don't. We don't own the world. We don't own this planet. We think we do. And I say that as in we as in we get stuck of being classified in the same category as everybody because we're human beings and we get categorized in the same thing. Because we get blamed because other people think they do. We don't own this world. We take it for granted that we do. If anything, we are killing this world. We are killing this planet. We are killing its vegetation. We are killing its beauty. We are killing its gifts. We are killing the blessings of it. And then we have the nerve to sit back and judge each other. Now, maybe we have preferences. Or maybe it's just because we just haven't had the chance to see differently. Because sometimes different generations learn different ways. And we're programmed differently. And sometimes it just depends on how you see things. Because sometimes our eyes, they overshadow our hearts. Because sometimes we just don't know what we think. We just don't know what we think. But we think we know. If that makes sense. I don't have all the answers. And I certainly don't know all the questions. And sometimes I wonder why there's even questions. Because sometimes there should be questions. I don't know. It shouldn't be a question why we judge other people. It shouldn't be questions of why we make fun of people, why we judge people. It shouldn't be questions on why we think somebody with a gazillion tattoos and piercings on them has any more qualifications, if you will, than somebody with not on saving your life. I mean, if you got let's say you got we'll just say you got a firefighter. He's got a bunch of tattoos on him, and we'll just say tattoos, because I don't know if they'd wear a bunch of piercings in there in the hot fire, because I would think that would burn him. But nor here nor there. I don't know. We'll just say tattoos. Let's say he's got a bunch of tattoos and stuff on him, and you got a couple of them, and you're in there, and you got one that comes over there to try to help you. Are you going to turn him away from helping you because it's against your religious beliefs? That somebody with tattoos is, it's a sin, and they're going to go to hell because they have marked their body, and you just can't accept that because you have judgment on them. So are you just going to turn them away and just burn and refuse help from this fireman to save your life because it's against your religion? Or are you going to be a hypocrite, even though it's against your religion, to let him save your life and then ask God later for forgiveness, even though technically you may or may not be sorry because he did save your life. But you're going to ask God for forgiveness on it and hope that he understands. Or you might just see it a different way. And just see that it's a human being trying to save your life. And see past the tattoos. Or maybe you can't see the tattoos because he's in his fireman gear. Because he's all geared up and you can't see his tattoos, so you wouldn't know he had all those tattoos from head to toe. Because you can't see him. So therefore you can't pass judgment on him, so you wouldn't know that it was sinful for him to be that he was going to be deemed to hell. And he's a fireman, he works in fire, so he's getting prepared to go to hell. That's why he's a fireman. But you wouldn't know that because he's covered head to toe in his fireman gear. Is it the same? But let's say hypothetically, you don't know. But then when he goes out there, because he takes a break and he, gets a drink of water or whatever, kind of, catches breath and stuff, because obviously that's a very deadly, dangerous job. And you see him, he gets out of his, his gear and stuff, and then you see all of his tattoos. What do you do then? Do you go over and thank him for saving your life? Do you ignore the fact that he has all his tattoos and act like you don't see them? Or, I don't know. If it's against your religion, and I mean this with respect, because I'm not here to judge you on that, but this is what people do. This is what people do. If you have a paramedic that pulls up, and you're having let's say you're having a heart attack. You got 2 paramedics there. And I'm using these first responder people because we're going to use, we're going to use life-saving things. Not that anybody else is any less. Please don't. I hope you don't take it that way. You got 2 paramedics. One's got a bunch of tattoos. The other one's got a bunch of piercings. Now, you're old school. Yeah. You're just like, yeah. Damn kids. Yeah. Whatever. You just don't care for that. Are you going to see past that and see that they're experienced human beings there to save your life? Or you're going to refuse medical care? Because there is no way that these hoodlums have any experience at all and qualified enough or smart enough to possibly be able to save your life or be able to know enough to be able to help you because they've got tattoos and piercings. Or what if you see a homeless person on the road, on the street? You don't want to help them. Oh, they gotta have they're a drinking problem. They're drunk or an alcoholic or a druggie or whatever. Maybe, just maybe, and I'm gonna go there because if you know me, I'm gonna go there. That person is a military person who had a family, had a life, kids, a wife, husband, whatever. Because I'm not going to discriminate on sex or whatever. Just pick whatever you want in your mind. They are in the military. Maybe they were over deployed. in a war, maybe just deployed, came home. You see a lot of stuff in the military. I couldn't even imagine. My hats go off to you, totally saluted. I'm very, very big on that. You come home and you carry a lot of the battlefield in your mind, in your being, in your soul. And I'm not even going to try to act like I know, because I don't. It does something to a person. When I cleaned crime scenes, we did a lot of suicides. Military, police officers. We did suicides. It does a lot to people. Now let's say this person come back. They were battling demons on a battlefield. That was not a war they deserved to be in their mind. And there was no escaping wherever they were at. They lost everything. They lost themselves, they lost their home, they lost their family, they lost everything. They ended up on the streets, trying to survive their soul. trying to numb whatever it is they needed to do. Does that make them a bad person? Did they choose to be there? Whether they're in the military or not in the military, it doesn't matter. They're still a human being. But before you judge somebody on that homeless person sleeping on the concrete, or sleeping standing up, or maybe staggering, or having a bottle with a brown paper bag on it, or whatever, are so skinny that they can't even keep their pants up because they are just more bones than they are skin. That is somebody. That is somebody. That is a human being. That is a person. Don't judge them. You're not enabling them. You're alienating them. It takes one moment for you to be right beside them, if not worse. Regardless of what your reason or your story is, regardless of what income you have, regardless of how nice of a job or a car you have, regardless of whatever, it takes one moment, one tragedy, one catastrophe, one act of Mother Nature, one act of whatever. One moment. One moment of judgment. Don't be that person. It takes one person, one moment from a person to be the difference. You get enough of those moments, it's a whole new world. Whole new world. Brand new world. You got to see it all again for the first time. Life isn't what you make it. It's how you take the way it makes you. Don't be that moment a level of society. Because I don't know what part of society is judging me, because I don't even know who they are. And I sure as hell, they don't even know me. And even if they did, well, if they did, well, then they could sit back and take notes. Because obviously they got a lot of learning to do. But that's not for me to decide. Because I believe in God. And I won't apologize for that. But then, at the same time, the way I look at it is when somebody used to say, what do you say to people that are like that? Well, sometimes you can, if you want to, you can stoop down to their level if you want to. But sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, it's tempting. Sometimes, it's caught up in the moment. I ain't gonna lie. Chew them up, spit them out, metaphorically. But the best thing that I think in the end of it all, you just gotta pray. Pray for a new moment. And thank God for a beautiful day. And for your blessings. Because they're everywhere. People say, oh, I need a miracle. You are a miracle. You are a miracle. And you are a blessing. And if you are going through something, reach out to somebody. Know your resources in your area. 988 is the suicide prevention hotline. In our area, anyway. Try to learn coping techniques. Your anxiety gets built up. I get anxiety all the time. Panic attacks. Sometimes I say my ABCs out loud or in my head. Sometimes it gets really bad. I do both. Or I'll do them in sign language. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. Sometimes I'll sing. Write poetry a lot. Write music. Talk to myself. Try to give myself positive talk. I try to counteract all the negative things in my life with positive the best I can. Try to change the moment you're in. If you're laying in bed and you're tossing and you can't get settled in your head or whatever, get up and go outside, take a breath of air. Take a deep breath of air and look at the sky, look at the world around you. Take in its beauty, take in the world. Look at your blessings. Change the moment, change your scenery. Say your prayers. Try to go to sleep. There's different ways to try to calm yourself. Sometimes some ways don't work. Have different backups. Try to do it in times that you're not in your anxiety and panic mode. Because obviously when you're in that type of mode, it's more difficult to to do when you're in that frame of mind. So try to figure that out, if possible. When you can, try to prepare yourself the best you can. Have somebody, if possible, that you trust enough to go to, if at all possible. I know sometimes that's not possible, because I know with me that's not possible. I've tried that before in the past, and I'm kind of on my own most of the time on that. I mean, I've got a lot of things going on in my mind, but I take it to God the most I can. I do take it to Him, but some things I still have to work out myself too. So there's no magic wand. Definitely no magic wand. And if you're listening to my podcast tonight, I wholeheartedly thank you. It's like I always say, there's one thing in life you can't get back, and that's your time. And if you've dedicated listening to me, I know that's something in your life that you have shared with me that you can't get back. And I wholeheartedly appreciate that with everything I have. And if you haven't checked out my other podcasts, please feel free to do so. I have it on Podbean and YouTube, and I just started a TikTok, and I'm working on putting stuff on there. I think I have like 2 videos on there right now, but I am working on that. So, and on that, I'm going to close out for now, and I hope everybody has a safe and blessed evening. Good night.